Welcome, age of vintage society. Very few women are as beautiful, talented and ethically gifted as Maureen O'Sullivan, always with her decent looks, especially her flowing brunette curls, accompanied by her curvy figure. Fans think she looks cute in those bikini-clad that often add flavour to her charm. Apart from her enduring career, she is one of those who made a family unit of Hollywood talents with children. How Maureen O'Sullivan's exposed body caused public outrage. As you all know how much I appreciate you, my viewers, so I want to thank you for your generous comments and for the Patreons. This video would not have been possible without you, and thanks to those who watched the video right to the end. Maureen O'Sullivan turned the Hollywood into a family business. With an outstanding career span of about 64 years and more than 60 films to her credit, Maureen O'Sullivan is a sure legendary icon in Hollywood entertainment, highly respected for her heroine roles all through the 1930s and part of the early 40s. She made an unforgettable appearance as the female lead, Jane Parker, in 6 of Johnny Weissmuller's Tarzan films series, wowing her audience, not just with her talent, but that excruciating attraction that fans kept talking about at the time. Often described as a fragile beauty whose self-assurance and charisma tend to fascinate her audiences away from movie messages, O'Sullivan's popularity agreeably climaxed after co-starring with that Olympic swimmer-turned-actor Johnny Weissmuller. Her epic role gave her enormous fame and scrutiny that even their creation, like Me Tarzan, You Jane, became part of the cultural lexicon. At a point in her career, her fame shifted as she became famous for a different reason, this time as the admirable mother of Mia Farrow, and subsequently as the proud mother-in-law of Frank Sinatra and Woody Allen, even though those statuses were very brief. Fortunately, or should one say unfortunately, fans kept celebrating O'Sullivan in different areas in the gossip circle for a reason different from her huge contribution to movies. Some writers think that her unusual popularity overshadowed her other movie performances that were rarely talked about. History would not forget Maureen O'Sullivan's contribution to productions like the screen version of such literary classics as Anna Karenina and Pride and Prejudice. Expectedly, her career life was not limited to the film industry, as theatre fans also felt her skillful display, including that of television viewers. Even when everyone thought her name was fading in the industry, she arguably had her second dimension of popularity and influence in the industry through her daughter, actress Mia Farrow, in one of the golden ages of Hollywood marriage attention. Not very much was known about her personal life, but like most Hollywood talents, Maureen O'Sullivan also has an element of scandal attached to her personal life, different from those glamorous screen appearances that she is known for. Someone did suggest, funnily, that if given the opportunity, the likes of O'Sullivan would have turned the Hollywood industry into a family business, because through her some people get to learn how easy it is to enter the industry when one has a family member already in the industry. Though having a relative is not the only way to penetrate the industry, it sure does not hurt to follow that method, considering gory tales by newcomers of how difficult it is for obviously talented fellows to get the required attention. But when such favouritism becomes a subject of controversy that attracts too much attention and media gossip, household relations as criteria for talent selection may not be the best. Maureen, who was an Irish-American actress, was such a huge inspiration to many, performing at different times with the likes of Laurence Olivier, Greta Garbo and William Powell. Sometimes in 2020, her name appeared 8th in the Irish Times record of Ireland's greatest movie actors of all time. Her heroic father was an officer in the Connaught Rangers and helped his country during World War I. Growing up as a kid, Maureen loved movies and was said to have not just chosen to act while attending a convent school in Dublin, but her passion may have also induced a few of her classmates to take up an acting career, including the likes of Vivien Leigh. Beautiful Maureen O'Sullivan was born on the 17th of May in Boyle, her hometown, County Roscommon in Ireland in 1911. Her parents, Mary Eva Lovett and Charles Joseph O'Sullivan, were more of a mainstream family. Growing up was also fun for young Maureen, having come from a privileged family. While her father was busy protecting his country on the war front, she was planning her dream career. There were reports that she may have nursed an initial ambition of becoming a pilot, probably because of her little exposure as a teenager, but performing art was more intense in her mind and had always occupied her imagination. Records available indicate that she attended a convent school in Dublin and proceeded to acquire more knowledge both in France and in London, where she lived at different times. Maureen got back to her homeland after her education to decide on her career fortune. She found herself briefly working for the poor while her career fantasy burned within, until what seemed like fate took over and she was spotted by a 20th Century Fox movie director identified as Frank Outrage, who was doing a movie location in Ireland. They met each other at a horse show. Frank was said to have suggested she go for a screen test. Sooner she won a sizable role of Eileen O'Brien in the movie Song of My Heart, that Frank was doing at the time, somewhere in Ireland. Because of that movie engagement, around October 1929, she and her mother travelled by water to New York on the British steamer RMS Baltic, en route to Hollywood as part of the film production. With a taste of production, her passion for it further increased. The film was not released until 1930, so she was needed again to finish the shooting of the movie that year, so she commenced a journey back to Hollywood studio as requested. Very young and charming at the time that California writers started calling her the Emerald Isle's gift to Hollywood. As soon as she finished working on the movie, she was placed in another role in a film titled So This Is London that same year. Though she was not so happy at Fox Studios because they appeared to have gambled with her against their star actress Janet Gaynor, who was demanding an increase of salary at the time. As soon as that issue was settled, she was abandoned despite her successful blend with Will Rogers in The Princess and the Plumber that year. Regardless, she was able to do about 6 movies for Fox Studio and then featured in 3 more movies for other studios, perhaps as a freelancer. Each of the films she did brought her closer to the attention of bookmakers, as she was putting her best foot forward and getting significant notice. Even though the Fox contract loss affected her emotionally, as she kept feeling lonely, forsaken and unwanted. And then it happened. It was MGM that offered her a contract in 1932 and was using her in several small roles until she got what was designed to be her breakthrough role as Jane in Tarzan the Ape Man that year. It was Irving Thalberg who decided to cast her in the production. Appearing as Jane, fans saw a youthful female attraction that was at ease in Paris fashion jungle garments as the negligible skin bikini of Tarzan and his mate in 1934. It was not just fun-filled but thrilling. Her connection with Johnny Weissmuller's Tarzan is multifaceted, sexual plus maternal, as Jane happened to be the courageous image protecting her man from obsessive complexities that flaw his personality, while he defends her from rampaging flora and fauna, head-hunting inhabitants and wicked white hunters. That string of productions kept Maureen busy for over 10 years, showing in 6 productions of the Tarzan movies. The end was inevitable, as its franchise was withdrawn after Tarzan's Secret Treasure and Tarzan's New York Adventure. Did censorship stop production? Maureen at a point got tired of the show, recalling how she rejected to continue the show when MGM wanted her to sign for an additional Tarzan production. Sincerely, I was about to have another try at it. She added that at the time her son was 8, and she asked him if he would like to see his mother wavering through the trees with the monkeys. But the boy said, "Mother, I would be ashamed," and that was it. But it did not stop Maureen from further showcasing her talent as she continued working hard, even though the subsequent roles were not as enticing as she would have loved them to be. The main reason those early Tarzan films escaped censorship was that they were released before the advent of the Hays Code, which became guidelines for decorum in Hollywood films, and was fully implemented in 1934, otherwise it would have been blacklisted beforehand. For instance, the costumes in the first films were scantier and sexually provocative. O'Sullivan once talked about the scandal that engulfed a swimming scene in Tarzan and His Mate, where the upper part of her body was openly exposed. "It started an uproar, with thousands of women objecting to my costume," she said. Maureen had added that the atmosphere was so charged that she was offered all kinds of places where she could go in her shame to hide from the vindictive public that was ready to throw stones at her following the outrage. At some point in the production, rumours emerged of a plan to eliminate the Jane character after Tarzan finds a son. It causes a public outcry as fans objected vehemently because they all love her show. Thereafter, O'Sullivan got a pay rise, perhaps as an encouragement to perform better. She was equally exhausted by the tasking creativity and effort that was involved during each production, as she later recalled how fans cared about the Tarzan pictures. "We all put up our best. They weren't quickies. It often took a year to make one," she had said. Maureen put on a good show as the supporting female lead in the famous The Thin Man, appearing alongside Myrna Loy and William Powell. She also performed in The Barretts of Wimpole Street in 1934, before appearing as the next female lead in Anna Karenina, alongside Greta Garbo and Basil Rathbone. Maureen made an excellent outing in A Yank at Oxford that she did with her former classmate Vivian Leigh, in a film that also starred Robert Taylor. Her role was reported to have been redrafted by F. Scott Fitzgerald, who was alleged to have developed a passionate romantic feeling for Maureen at the time. Interestingly, after her Tarzan films, she appeared to have been remanded in supporting roles, with several of them for a reason best known to producers or directors, as the case may be. Even Pride and Prejudice followed the same supporting capacity. Sometime in 1942, Maureen took a break from acting so she can concentrate on her young family with kids, especially as her husband, John Farrow, was said to have been returned home that year by the Canadian Navy Service because he went down with typhoid fever. She went back to action in 1948 with The Big Clock. Apart from her natural splendour, those opportune to be around Maureen spoke of her as a highly intelligent lady with a vivacious and engaging personality. There were gossip reports of her involvement in several romantic affairs with actors before settling down with her husband in marriage. Some of the names that pop up at the time as those who once had an affair with her are Dick Haymes and James Dunn. There is also an indication that she had a brief fling with her Tarzan co-star. O'Sullivan first met her husband, the Australian author and renowned film director John Farrow, while functioning on his reshoots of Tarzan Escapes. She had smitten him enough for them to have decided to legalise their romance some years later. After marriage, the two were very fruitful in their union, producing as many as 7 children, even as 2 of her daughters, Mia Farrow and Tia Farrow, grew up to become actresses with her connection. There was a funny report about O'Sullivan's reaction when she heard that Frank Sinatra had proposed to her daughter Mia. She was quoted to have said, "At his age he should marry me," referring to Sinatra. As an actress who was still active with a daughter Mia in the industry, she was engaged to play a screen role as Mia's mother in Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters in 1986. The movie created what she and her daughter described as over-dramatisation of personal family circumstances, and was very unhappy about it later. Recall that Mia was married to Allen at the time the movie was produced, so after their breakup, Mia opened up on how the script did not go down well with them, saying, "It was my mother's astonishing reaction to the script that enabled me to see how he took many of our circumstances and themes, had distorted them into cartoonish characterizations." She accused Allen of modifying the ordinary stuff about their lives into art, noting, "We were honoured and outraged," reacting at the time Allen had excluded O'Sullivan from the movie but kept her name in it. Maureen's large family, with the usual noisy nature of kids, must have been a mixture of happiness and tasking home activities, but that historic family joy was unfortunately cut short in 1963, following Farrow's death. Sometimes later she got entangled romantically with actor Robert Ryan. The two were said to have been planning their wedding when he took ill and later died in 1973. Maureen was said to have come back to Boyle in 1988 at the invitation of a neighbourhood committee and was honoured by the town. Thereafter she made a touching remark saying, "I have lived in several great places, but the best part of me I owe to Boyle. Her influence has given me whatever poetry in my soul," insinuating that all her successes may have come from Boyle. Maureen married for the second time to James Cushing in 1983. James, who was a construction contractor, stayed with her until her demise. Maureen O'Sullivan died 23rd of June 1998 after complications from heart surgery when she turned 87. While fans appreciated her energetic career contributions from pre-code Hollywood to Woody Allen films and Broadway shows, her memory lives on because her offspring are all reputable personalities. Critics think that she created some sort of an artistic empire with her family, which comprises Mia Farrow, sculptor, environmentalist Patrick Villiers-Farrow, plus press officer Ronan Farrow. It was Mia Farrow who told news media that she believed that her mother had died of old age. Maureen and Weissmuller made a perfect match on screen. But how much do you know about him? How Johnny Weissmuller became the first Olympic superhero? Watch this video.